Tonight our guest speaker is Bron Thulke, and she's talking about volunteer events, learning from the organised chaos in the tech community. Bron is the co-founder and CTO of YouLi, where she leads platform development with a passion for elegant, user-friendly systems. A veteran full-stack engineer, she brings decades of experience building access front-end, back-end and architecture. Bron is deeply embedded in the tech community world. She's a Microsoft MVP in .NET and web development, and volunteers as President of DDD Melbourne, helping run one of Australia's most vibrant developer conferences. So, welcome.
Bron, I'm so thankful that you've come today. I'm rapt. I'm a big fan. I've been to DDD every year except once when I couldn't get a ticket. So it's just so wonderful. Would you like to tell us about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Hey everybody. I'm Bron. So a lot of the intro actually covered it, but I'm a software engineer. I've been developing since basically the start of the 2000s or the end of the 90s. And I have also, in the last 10 to 15 years, I've started doing a lot more work out in the community as well, giving back to the community that kind of grew me. So I do DDD Melbourne, which is a conference for developers, but also for designers and data scientists and managers and anybody in tech really, which runs once a year. I also help to run DDD by Night, which is a quarterly meetup that we run alongside DDD, which is almost like our feeder meetup. And I run Melb.net, which is a monthly meetup for .NET developers, but also for all languages. We don't only talk about Microsoft stuff there. And then I've been involved in a number of other things over the years, various hackathons, IT events to encourage women and career changes into the industry, kid coding camps, and most recently Go Girl Go for IT, which is a massive, I think they actually had over 2,000 students attend that this year, so I helped volunteer for that at Deakin University. So basically when I'm not working, I'm doing that or finding a little bit of time with my family.
What does DDD stand for and who made it up?
So DDD stands for developer, exclamation mark. It was, the phrase was coined by, I think it was Steve Ballmer. Yep. He said it famously on stage one time. Now, I'm not sure of the full story of how that came to be the name of the conference, but in 2005 in the UK, somebody started the first DDD event. And then one of our founding members from here in Australia, Alex Mackey, was in the UK at the time and he loved it, so he brought it back to Australia. And at that time, he started running that in 2010. And so since then, it's been running we had 10 events. We celebrated our 10th event in 2019. Then we had a hiatus, as everybody did, for COVID. And then we started back again a few years ago, and we've been running every year since.
So when's it on next?
It is on next on February the 21st next year. So tickets are on sale now, and I highly encourage everybody to grab a ticket and go along. It's a fantastic agenda. It's really aimed at crossing various interests in development, but also it's a really great chance to network with people, meet the sponsors who help us to run the event, and if you're looking for a career change or if you just want to chat to like-minded people, really fun. And I can tell you, when I first went, I didn't know anybody personally. I had spoken to a couple of people online, but I had never really, I hadn't met anybody in person. I went along by myself and I had the best time, and that was 2015, I think it was, and I've gone every year since. And started organising myself in 2017. Actually, it might have been 2018 that I first volunteered. And then during the COVID period, somehow it landed in my lap and I became president of it. And then after COVID, the veil lifted, I helped to get it running. So,
Where is it run and how many people were there last year?
See, because you're asking the right questions that I'm not thinking of. So it's a community event. And in doing so, we try and keep the numbers manageable and enjoyable for everybody, so that it's not a massive event that's overwhelming. We usually end up at the moment with about 600 people there on the day. Our aim this year is for 600 or 700 people. One of our core values are that it is low cost, so the tickets this year are only $89, so that it's accessible to everybody. And we do even run opportunity programs if people contact us and said they couldn't afford it. So we're really all about getting people from the community to be able to come to really good tech conferences. We always run it on a Saturday, and we always have free childcare, so that anybody who wants to go along but have kids can put kids into childcare on the day in the venue. And we encourage submissions from anybody out there, and then we actually democratically vote on those submissions, so the attendees actually get to help form the agenda. So it's all about community, it's all about getting people involved. We draw on the community even for the volunteers. It's completely not profit, so we rely heavily or completely on our sponsors. So also, if you're a business and you would like to help sponsor an event like this, we love sponsors. They get a lot of love from us, and we have all sorts of different packages. It's been a big learning curve for me over the last few years in understanding more of what's under the hood of these sort of events, and it's a lot.
Did I ask you where it's located?
Oh, you did. It's in Melbourne Town Hall this year. We've had that. That's been our venue for the last few years, and it's kind of become the home of DDD Melbourne. Yeah.
Appropriate. So appropriate.
Yeah, it's a beautiful venue. So, yeah.
And you also are involved, you run Melb.net. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that's a smaller meetup that we run usually once a month, and it's usually held in the city at either the Microsoft offices or the offices of kind businesses who basically donate their space for the evening. And it's usually about 40 or 50 people who are all interested in development in general, not just Microsoft.net. We get together, we have, depending on the night, we might have 1 or 2 talks, or we might have 3 or 4 talks. We just, for example, 2 weeks ago had our .NET conference after party when we had 4 of us present shorter talks. So the topics vary from something language related or tech stack or framework related to career related stuff. So we have a big variety, and that's actually another event where there's a core group. I didn't really talk yet about the core organising group of DDD, but yeah, Melb.net is a core group of 4 of us roughly, sometimes 5, but at the moment we're mostly 4 of us who sort of do different jobs and make it run. Even when one of us is under the weather, the others step up, and yeah. And you also do a few other things. I've written down Node Girls, hackathons, yes. Girl Geek Academy. Yeah, so that's a bit of the stuff from my past. So I helped run an event years ago called Node Girls, which was mostly for career changers, women and who were changing careers and wanted to just have a play with a new programming language. Most of the women in the room had never even coded, so we started them in JavaScript and some back-end Node stuff, but mostly just front-end, and that was inspiring because I had people who'd never written a line of code, and by the end of the day they were saying, "Oh, I can do this." So it's really good feels from that sort of thing. The hackathons that I've been involved in have been where I've been an attendee. And I've had an absolute ball doing those, and I've made some lifetime friends. And in fact, my co-founder of my startup, I met her through a hackathon. We weren't on the same team, but we started talking and kept in touch afterwards. And then next thing I was building a startup with her. And Girl Geek Academy was one that I've been involved in a few events, but also I have been in awe of how they've grown over the years and the work that they've done giving back to the community, trying to grow the female and non-binary input into the community. So they've got a goal. They've always had a goal of 1 million women in IT in Australia by a certain year. So I can't say how they're going or how they're tracking on that, but that was where they came from, was this desire to fix the problems that we have to admit are evident, are existing in the industry.
Talk about the year there were no women speakers.
Yeah, no.
We won't talk about that because that has been so fixed, and that's really inspiring.
Yeah. 2024, I think, was the year. It was that the no, sorry, that was 2024. Last year, I stood up on stage at the end of DDD Melbourne and said we had a queue in the female toilets this year. And it was so exciting. And we usually now are at the point where we've got about 25% representation from non-binary and female attendees for DDD. And we aim for close to 50% speakers. But it's hard. It's tough. So we're still doing a lot of work in that space of diversity.
Mentoring. You mentor, Bron?
I do. I have done a lot of informal mentoring over the years as well, and that's another way that I think is a great way to give back to the community, to help people who, whether or not they're students or they've been working for years, some people even who are basically peers of mine in terms of how long they've been in the industry, but just working together to solve common goals or give advice based on my experiences. So yeah, I love doing like informal mentoring.
What's the most common thing you wind up helping people with?
At the moment, probably for students, I often have people asking me how they can get a job in the market at the moment. It's very difficult out there, especially for newer graduates, to find a role because there's so much competition. So often it comes down to talking about running personal projects and building their portfolio and
Wouldn't it be great if there was a place they could come and hang out?
If only. Yes. And work on those personal projects. Yes, exactly.
Did I ask you about Go for IT?
Yeah, so that was the one that I was involved in just recently, where they had, I'm pretty sure that they had just under or just over 2,000 students come together at Deakin University. So that's actually a program run by another volunteer-led program, and they get non-binary and female students who have just an inkling of interest to come along to the university and spend a whole day they go to talks and they do workshops and they learn about programming, and they learnt about 3D printing and UX design, and they kind of cover all the bases. And then there's also a trade show hall where they get to go in and talk to businesses and maybe the businesses get into their brain and they plant a seed for later. They get cool swag and it leaves them excited about getting into the industry. So, yeah.
And you also volunteer with Global as your bootcamp.
I did this year, yeah. So one of the things that I've realised, especially since being awarded with the MVP certificate.
What is MVP and what is Global Azure Bootcamp?
Yeah. So I was really grateful to be awarded a Microsoft MVP award last year, which is a Most Valuable Professional award. So that is an award that is given to people who have been identified as giving a lot to the community and helping build the community. There's often a sway towards Microsoft-related technologies. You kind of fit into one of the boxes in the award program. So mine is .NET and web development. But even without that, it's about what you do for the community, helping to encourage new people into it, helping mentor people in the industry already, and encourage them to also give back to the community. So that's what that award is all about, is basically a lovely acknowledgement of all the hard work in that area. So then one of the things that I became more aware of through that program was all of the little side events that run that sometimes you don't hear about unless you're really keeping your finger on the dial. And one of those was the Global Azure Bootcamp. So I didn't actually, I did sort of kind of help a little bit on the outskirts and just basically put my hand up for anything that they need along the way. And then I also just presented a talk at it. So in the last couple of years, I've started to become a bit of a serial talk submitter.
How good is that? Tell me, what is .NET?
what is .NET? .NET is a framework that was created by Microsoft to, I've been put on the spot a bit here. And there's somebody in the room who's probably going to go, that's wrong, an actual Microsoft employee. But I would say that .NET was Microsoft's solution to the lack of tools and frameworks out there at the time it was created in like 2000 or 2001 that did all the stuff that you needed it to do without having to write things yourself. So much came out of the box that it just made a very smooth transition to get into it and start building things. So you could literally go from nothing to having a small app running a lot quicker than you could using the technologies that we were already using at the time. I'll never forget my excitement when I saw that they had a primitive type for date time. So I didn't have to create all of my own functions anymore to manage those because it was just there. So yeah, so .NET is that, and it's the technology that I started building a little bit in around the 2004 or 5 mark, and then cycle forward about 10 years. I started, well, less than 10 years, 5 years later, I kind of drew a line in the sand and said pretty much everything I've done from then on has somehow reached back into .NET, even if it's not the full stack.
So Bron, what does community and volunteering mean to you?
So to me, community is the people around me every day who get me, who are into the same passions as me in terms of in the development community. It's the people who also are into development, and we can learn from each other and grow, and we can share our information and our knowledge, and that to me is what a community is. And then within that, there's obviously little sub-pockets along the way. So I might consider that I've got my .NET community, which is the people that I can nerd out with about the .NET stuff. But then I've also got the people who are into, making is a perfect example, right? Like having a little community of people who are all into making things, whether it's 3D printing or little build your own computers or that sort of thing. Yeah, so to me, community, when I say that I like to give back to the community, it's giving back to the groups of people who I like to spend time with, and I like to introduce more people into those communities so that it grows as well. So not just stay, not just always the same people. We're like in the DDD community, for example, we're always trying to encourage new people to come along and join, and yeah.
How do you grow a community?
Bit by bit. So I've been fortunate that the communities that I am tending to run or work in at the moment, they'd already mostly started, right? So when I came onto DDD, we already had a good base of people who were involved in it. But then it did drop off a lot during COVID. So we had to kind of rebuild. And so one of the first ways is just reaching out through social media. So whether or not we like it, it's here to stay, and it is one of the best ways to reach people these days. One of the problems that we're seeing at the moment is there's a huge fragmentation now in the social media. So in the developer and tech community especially, everybody was on Twitter before, and now a lot of people have moved off. So where do we find them? And that's the struggle that we're having at the moment, especially through DDD, but also in Melb.net. So we're tending to reach out to all of them at the moment. Blue Sky, Mastodon, LinkedIn, and and the other one that I don't like to mention anymore. So that's one way that we do. We do build up mailing lists, and we use email to reach out to people as well, because there are a lot of people still who won't be on those social media channels, but they'll be checking their emails. And then word of mouth, and we will have people out there spruiking about our upcoming meetups. We get people in the door. And one of the things that we do, for example, I mentioned before with DDD Melbourne, is we run DDD by Night, which is a quarterly meetup. And that's kind of like a little feeder into DDD Melbourne. So we encourage people to come along to DDD by Night, and we encourage people to submit talks, which I think we're going to come back and talk about more. And by talking at a smaller event like the little meetup, they get some experience or they meet more people, and then they either come along and speak at the big event or they come along as attendees. So definitely being regular with that. So with Melb.net, one of the things we found was that when we started to grow as a group, it was when we started being consistent. Consistency was really important for us. Yeah.
We were going to talk about bonding versus bridging.
Yes. Yes, and this was a term that you actually introduced to me the other day, and I instantly connected with it.
ChatGPT found.
Yes. Admit that. No, it's okay to admit that. Yeah, so I think the idea that you had with the bonding versus bridging was the difference between when you first start a community, you tend to be kind of a tight-knit little group. Like maybe it's just you and your friends and you all want to hang out together and build something. But then over time, because you want to grow and expand, you have to start looking outside of that little group. And so one of the ways that you could do that is to build bridges with other communities, other similar groups. And like I understand that you have done a great job of that here with your special interest groups. You've got
we're seeking to do more.
Yeah, so you've got all sorts of different interest groups that are under that one banner, and it gives them a common connection. So yeah, that's
because a lot of our advertised groups are in remission.
Yeah.
But we have more and more on the way, and encouraging kind of more. I'll talk about, or someone will talk about that soon.
Yeah, that will be good. Yeah.
So how many volunteers for DDD on the day, and also during the build up in the by night events that you run?
Yeah. So so first of all, the actual core organisers, there's usually about 15 or so of us, 15 to 18 from year to year, and that's the group of people who we meet at least once a month and make sure that we're getting everything ready for the big event. And then, so that includes everything from venue management to sponsorships and merchandise and speakers, managing the speakers and doing all the communications. Marketing is a big one. All of those sort of things that need to be done along the way. And then on the day, that swells out to usually about 35 to 40 people that we have in the town hall on the day helping to run the event. And a lot of those on the day people are, well, all of them are just people who've reached out to us because of word of mouth and said, hey, I've heard about this. And one of our key things we tap into is universities. Universities are great. Students are especially excited about helping out. And we always say to them, you get free entry to the event, you get to help out, and we always make sure that all the volunteers can attend at least 1 or 2 sessions on the day as well, so that they get to take something away as well. So that's one way. So universities is a great way for us to inject new volunteer life into it. So we often have a whole new fleet of volunteers for the on the day each year. So yeah, they are helping to run things on the day, like monitoring rooms and helping out a lot with helping people run the registrations, helping people run the sponsors and all that sort of task.
How do you ensure they have a good time?
Well, we have a lot of laughs. Yeah. We do training ahead of time. So for the big event, we run a volunteer training the week before, and that is 2 or 3 people usually organise that, and that also gives the volunteers the knowledge that they need so that they're not arriving on the day and feel like deers in the headlights not knowing what they're going to do. So we make sure that they've been trained so that they feel confident on the day that they know what's going to be expected of them. And we have a breakfast beforehand where we just kind of all gather around in the town hall and eat breakfast together and chat. And there's just general, really fun camaraderie going on all throughout the day. We have the crew space where everybody gathers and has a good time. And I always get really positive feedback from the volunteers. They say that they had a great time, and we've had quite a few volunteers over the years from on the day who've then turned into, more core organisers because they like it so much. They say, I want to do more. So.
They look great in their coloured T-shirts.
Yeah, we always give lots of coloured... Yeah, we always have a special colour T-shirt. It changes every year, and we have a lot of fun with that as well. We have one year where we had pink T-shirts, and so somebody said we should have pink pink cloaks. So somebody managed to pick up a bunch of pink cloaks. Cloaks, is that the right word? Yeah. Like a superhero style cloak. So so we were all running around with our cloaks on the day.
This is really close to my heart, this question. How do you get people to submit talks?
Well, yeah, that's a really interesting... So I'm going to speak from both DDD and Melb.net. So Melb.net, first of all, we often are scraping the bottom of the barrel for, oh no, we've run out of talks, what do we do? So we go to social media, we put out blasts about that, we talk ourselves. I mean, we do that. You just have to. Sometimes it's like, I know you're all probably sick of hearing it from me, but I'm going to do a talk because that's all we got. We've had a couple of times where we've said, let's just actually have a break because maybe it's a sign that we need to have a month off. But then we've stopped doing that usually because what we felt was that it changes the consistency and then it changes how many people come on the night. So
that's a really important question I wanted to ask. How important is habit?
Very, very important, I think, yes. Yeah, definitely, especially with Melb.net, we found that if we had it on the same night of the month, consistently every month, then definitely numbers were stronger. When we were kind of maybe doing one month, maybe one a couple of months later, it was totally different, and our numbers were a lot lower. And for that one, we were running online events, hybrid events, so we had online as well, but that was even harder because then people just wouldn't know when they would need to connect in. So it's not just for the consistency of the date, I think it's also for knowing how the night's going to run. If we're running regularly, people know that when they arrive, they're going to eat food and they're going to start at 6 o'clock and they're going to, be done by this time. And so there's some confidence in that. And we nerds love to have frameworks and structure.
Frameworks,
right? Yes. Yeah. So back to the talks. In DDD, for DDD by night, also, we run a lot of social media campaigns to encourage people to submit talks. But also, we always tend to find that after having that big event, we usually have a little bit more of an influx of people who are submitting talks because they've seen the event, they've seen people talking, and they think, I could do that. And so we get that little bit of a drive there. And then one trick that we've had is because we tend to run at different venues, we always ask the venue to submit a talk as well. So we always give the venue a chance to put one of their own speakers up, and that fills a gap usually. And usually venues are very keen to do that. They're usually scrambling to find somebody. Yeah.
You were telling me about how you run speaker training sessions and you get them to fill in a form and...
Yeah, not just speaker training sessions, but CFPs in training as well. So for DDD Melbourne, we do run 3 sessions leading up during our CFP, our call for proposals or call for papers, during which time people can join the training and learn how to write a CFP, how to write an abstract, how to form a talk. But one of the things also that we always say to people is even if you don't have an idea yet, just come along to the training and we can help you workshop that and come up with an idea. Because we're always saying to people, everybody has a talk in their head. There's something that everybody has done that other people would be interested in. And sometimes we are too in our own heads thinking maybe everybody knows that, or maybe that's just something that I would care about. But honestly, sometimes, I'm not going to lie, there are talks where you might walk away thinking, I feel like maybe 2 people in the room needed to hear that and the rest might not have needed to, but those 2 people in the room got something out of it. So we always say to people, it doesn't matter how many people, and also it's experience for them. So you just don't know who you'd be reaching out to when you do a talk. So that's the sort of language that we use in the sort of, pep talks that we give people. And with Melb.net, one thing that I mentioned to you that we've been doing recently is we've actually started saying at the end of the night when we put up our QR code and say, everybody, this is what you can scan the QR code, submit your talk. And we often would see no phones go up or 1 phone go up. So we've started saying, everybody in the room, I want you all to put your phone up there now and just do it for me. Just do it for me. And I basically beg. And then they do it, a few people do it, and I say, right, now I want you to submit that form, and in the topic, I want you to put, I don't know yet. And then we can talk about it. Just put it in, just submit the form, and then we can work with you on what your topic could be. And it's a bit of a fun way to get more talk submissions, more speaker submissions.
I think that's so powerful. Admitting to yourself that you're going to talk, you just don't know yet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, yeah. And also I'll often tell people that the best way to learn something is to submit an idea for a talk first. So, and I think a lot of people I've spoken to who do talks have admitted they do the same. They don't know anything about the topic until they've submitted the talk, and then they learn about it. And I literally was supposed to do that this week. I chickened out, I must admit, but I was going to submit a talk about building up a Jetson Nano AI little machine thing. I've got it sitting there, and I don't yet know what I want to do with it. So I thought I'll submit a talk saying that I'm going to use that to do some automation in my house, and then I can learn how to do it in the next 3 or 4 months. It's, so yeah. So if you are thinking that you want to do talks and you haven't, been game enough to do it yet, remember that you don't necessarily have to know the topic before you submit the talk.
So how to attract volunteers?
Well, I said that we often reach out to universities. I think at every chance we talk to people, we say, oh, well, if you want to help, you could volunteer. So it's really about just having that constant communication with people, constantly mentioning it to people. Some people don't even realise that volunteering is an open role. Like you don't have to interview, you just have to say, please, can I help? And we're going to say yes. So at the event we always do call outs as well. So like if we are running the Melbourne.net, the Melb.net meetup, we always mention that we run on volunteers and we need more help. DDD by night, we're always putting up, usually we have a QR code so that people can submit their details to help volunteer for that or for the main conference. So yeah, just constantly talking with people out in the community as well. And then sometimes reaching out to specific, like if I meet somebody and I just think they seem community minded, they seem passionate about something, then I'll just literally say, you should volunteer for this thing. I don't hold back.
Okay, so now you've got your volunteers. How do you work with them?
Yeah, so this is actually the crux of the whole thing, right? Like when you're working with volunteers, the number one thing that we always have to remember is they're volunteers and they're choosing to be here and they're not getting paid to be here, and neither are we. So like I don't get paid on DDD. Like we are completely not-for-profit and we are completely volunteer. None of us take a cent home. So first of all, I always have to remember that this is their time that they are giving, and we are very grateful for it, and we always remind them of that. We work with our volunteers, and here I'm talking more about our core volunteers where we're helping all throughout the year. I will ask everybody to input details about their availability. When would the meetings work for them so that we can have as many people as possible available, and make sure that we're not having it on a night where it's not going to be easy for most of the volunteers to help, because that leaves them feeling bad. So making sure that we're holding meetings when as many people as possible can get online. We tend to do a bit of a buddy system when we're allocating roles. So every area that we've identified as needing to have organisation, we always have at least 2 people involved, so that if one person is busy, the other one can help out. Usually there's like a lead role, and then there's 1 or 2 other people who can be called on to assist. And then when we're actually basically saying, when we're onboarding people, one of the things that we make sure we talk about is how we understand that people are volunteering their time, and we know that changes. So we always give permission to people to get too busy and have to say, I'm sorry, I can't help out at the moment. We encourage people to do that. So we say to people, I would rather you tell me if you're going to be caught up for the next few months, tell me and I can allocate somebody else your tasks. And there's just a constant conversation about making sure that people aren't taking on too much, watching what people are. Like if somebody is constantly putting their hand up and then they can't get it done, then I'll just reach out to them directly and have a friendly conversation and ask how I can help to alleviate the stress for them, and say it's totally okay. I'm going to take that task, I'm going to get so-and-so to do it for you. You focus on what you've got to focus on right now. But there's always an invitation for people to continue on as an organiser or as a volunteer when they're ready to. I can't think of any time where we've literally said to somebody, you need to stop volunteering forever. Like it's always an open door. Yeah.
Yeah, permission to fail I've written down here.
Yes, that was something I mentioned the other day. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when we first have our kick-off meeting for the year, which is usually the busiest in terms of having people who think that they're going to be there for, and then we kind of say, so actually... All right, cool. So when we have our kick-off meeting at the start of the year, we always have a big conversation where we say to people, you're allowed to fail, you're allowed to, not get something done, just talk to us. And it's very much like in a job these days when we've literally got a lot of education about permission to fail and no blame culture and that sort of thing. The same thing applies in volunteering and in community groups. And it's really important in those groups that you adhere to that, because they're not getting paid. So, yeah.
How do you encourage reach out? I've written down encouraging reach out.
Reach out. Assuming that would be to do with getting people to reach out to the community themselves. So we're all, putting our own best feet forward, I guess, putting our own best foot forward. So we do all of our communications, for example, for DDD Melbourne is through Slack, through a Slack group, and we're always having conversations in public, in the general chat, in public view of the organisers, so everybody sees what everybody else does in terms of reaching out to their communities. And I've spoken to so and so, and they might be a sponsor, or I've got this person is keen on volunteering. We have those conversations in public often, so that other people see. You got a new battery? Excellent. Yeah, so other people see that, and then they think, oh, well, I could be doing that as well. I could be reaching out to my employee, or I could be reaching out to telling my employers, come along and help volunteer. So yeah.
We might take some questions now. I can see some things on chat.
Yeah, great.
So I'll just check. We have any questions in the room?
Not so much a question, but I would like to volunteer for DDD.
Yay! Somebody wants to volunteer for DDD. I'll give you some details afterwards, and if I don't get to, then definitely ask Kirsten and she can pass it on. We've got a form, so yeah, we'd love to have a chat. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't get to talk about that. Yes, there is actually. So there is a DDD Perth, a DDD Adelaide and a DDD Brisbane. There's not a DDD Sydney at the moment. There has been in the past. And there's also a DDD Outback, which is a fun one, which is literally like going camping. And I was hoping to make it this year, but I think it's already been on. I don't know. But it was coming up and I was excited, but didn't get to make it. So yeah.
Is there anyone on? Oh,
I think he's still. Got what? How do we structure? Oh right, yeah. So no, we've got every city or every event has its own committee or association. However, they've done it because it's different for every state as well and everything. So that's a whole nother complication. But we've got an overarching like DDD Australia, which is a group of us all of those of us who sort of are the core organisers in each of the states. We all talk, we help each other out, we give ideas, we ask questions. How do you do your? Does anybody have any tips on the CFP for so and so? Yeah, so there is that as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of knowledge sharing, but not a formal structure. We've looked at doing a formal structure, but we've always found that the problem is that also there's little differences between every city and how they do things, and differences because of the size and the audience can be different from one state to another. So.
Importantly, I want to mention that we've got the opportunity to have a stand, MelbPC or Moorabbin Makerspace, with whatever identity we wish to use. Yeah. We have an opportunity to have a stand at DDD, so please talk to me if you'd like to be on that stand. Yeah.
See, you've already got one. Yeah, one thing that we did last year for the first time was we ran a community space. So whereas normally we have our sponsor booths, what we did last year was we reached out to communities and said we'd like to give you a space for free. So the sponsors have to pay money for their stands, but the communities, we said, come along. We actually have a sponsorship package where a business could help sponsor and help cover those costs. So. So we had 7 stands last year, and unfortunately MelbPC User Group didn't make it in last year, but they did apply. So we're hoping that can happen this year. And it's a fantastic little space. We have constant, especially during the breakouts and break times, we have so many people going through that space. Last year it was a traffic jam because people just love talking to those community groups and seeing how they can get involved. So, yeah.
Bron, why do you do it? What do you get out of it?
That's such an interesting question. And it's something that we were actually talking about the other day too. Was that a question from online? That's a good one. Or you've just come up with it, yeah. So me personally, I do it just because I can't say no to anything anyway. And it started because, so when I first started really getting into community with DDD, it was because I was talking to Alex Mackey, one of the original organisers, and mentioning that I hadn't bought my ticket yet. And he said, why don't you volunteer anyway? And I said, oh, is that a thing? Because I thought it was a closed, group. I thought it was only if you know somebody sort of thing. And he said, no, we have volunteers, come and help us. So I did, and I jumped in and I helped organise the catering. I really think that all he did was say, what can we give Bron that nobody else wants to do? And it was digging for a role. So I basically talked to the venue, which was Town Hall in 2018 as well. And I just organised, I basically selected the menu. So it was like, here's a job to make you feel busy. But then it grew from there. So it was a really great, and so what I found from that was that it's such a really great feeling knowing that you're getting involved in helping run an event like this. So it's always about, so I was saying the other day that I feel like when you're volunteering, there is always a bit of what's in it for me. There is something, you get so much out of volunteering. You get to meet people, you get to grow your own skills. I would never have had a clue about how to organise an event until I started helping out with DDD, and the same for Melb.net for the meetup. But then there's so much of an opportunity to give back as well. And when you look at a crowd of people who are like enthralled in a topic and they're learning, then you feel really good about it as well. There was an old Friends episode once where one of the characters was trying to prove that every single good deed is actually a selfish act at the end of the day. And it's true in a way, because you always feel good at the end. And as soon as you feel good, it's like, am I being selfish? Is that the only reason I did it? But that's a good thing. So yes, I think, and for most of the people that I speak to, they do it for the same reason, because they can, because they've got just that little bit of time that they can put towards something like that, and it helps other people. And most of us just want to get involved and help and grow those communities. These are the communities that we grew up in too. Like, that's the thing.
That's so true. For me, growing up in the 60s and 70s, and you a bit later, we had more freedom than the kids do today. That kind of worries me. Like, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
But where is the village?
Yeah.
Maybe can be here for some families.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, on that note, we were talking the other day about I might start bringing my 12 and 13-year-old along, because then they can meet other 12 and 13-year-olds who love being nerds.
Actually, right? I remember we ran Coda Dojo for a little while, and I always remember a kid saying to me, Coda Dojo is where you get to talk to other kids about code.
Absolutely. So my 13-year-old has been doing little coding boot camps since they were 4, and they were actually 1 year younger than they should have been. And I messaged the Girl Geek Academy people and said, I know that Kai is only 4, but they're really smart and they can already read a bit. Can they come along to, it was called Miss Makes Code at the time, and they said, all right, yeah, that's fine, let them come. And actually, I think Kai learnt to read more through doing that, to be honest. Because they had to work out what the instructors were telling them to do. So since then, they've been to a few different events like that, and the most recent one was over the summertime last year. And there were 2 events for the Girl Geek Academy ran for She Hacks, I think it was, or they came up with a different name, actually. It wasn't She Hacks. She Hacks Swift. And these kids broke off into groups, and they had the typical hackathon group. They had the hacker, the hipster, and the hustler. Yes, and I was so proud that my child was the hacker and started coding. And one of the things that I kept hearing when they first went, the word that before dropping them off at RMIT, I don't know anybody. I don't think I want to do this after all. I'm going to be so by myself. Blah blah blah. And then by the time I was picking them up that night, I made so many friends. These people are awesome. They're my people. They get me. And by the second night, they were messaging me saying, can I hang around with them and go to Melbourne Central afterwards? It was such a difference. And that's they were 12 years old at the time, and they hadn't found their people yet. And suddenly they realised there are people out there who are just like me. They want to do cool stuff like this. And it's the same for us if you haven't had that opportunity, when you get into university and it's all a whirlwind, you come out, where do you turn to? So that's what these communities can give, is a place to be you.
And face to face.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, face to face is so important as well. Yeah.
Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to put up their hand and say something? There's a question in chat.
I don't have my glasses.
Question for Bron. How is AI affecting, this is from John Hall, how is AI affecting software developers?
Well, that's a very interesting and off-topic conversation, actually. I could talk about that all day. It helps me. I use it all the time. I lean in on LLMs and generative AI to help me to write boilerplate code and solve problems. I use the latest tools to analyse my issues when I'm debugging and have a problem. A thank you to an audience member who I know was involved in that, because it's my favourite feature now. I click a button, I say, why is this a problem? And it tells me. So I love that sort of thing. I use it to write words when they don't come to me, like happening now. I am not a wordsmith. I'm not great at coming up with, fancy worded emails or marketing material or anything. So when I have to do that, I lean in on AI for that, because I am who I am, and I'm a software nerd, not a writer. I can lean in on that. So yeah, I think I see it as a great opportunity for growth. Yeah.
Do we have any more questions on Zoom? Anyone like to put up their hand and say something? Okay. What about in the room? Yep.
What are some of my most favourite or interesting talks I've been on at the conferences? Unfortunately, some of my favourite ones I didn't even get to see, but I'll tell you that I know that they would have been amazing, and I heard they were, because they were talks like running D&D style talks, where they literally had like panels of people and they ran an adventure to solve a problem that was development related. Things where people get people from the audience involved. I really love those sort of things. One of my favourite recent ones was actually a talk by somebody called Chris Simon about AI and the development of AI over the years. And then in that same conference, so that was from Programmable last year, and in that same conference at the end of the day, somebody did a talk about AI slop. And so I really love talks where it's not necessarily so technical, but it makes you think and it makes you reflect on what's going on at the moment. So I'm a sucker for the keynotes and mock notes for that reason.
Maybe mention some of the keynotes. I remember there was a guy going to Mars one year. But that's a while back. I don't think he went. I don't.
That does ring a bell that I've heard about that. I don't think I saw that one. Okay, I think my favourite DDD keynote would have to have been one by Paul Fenwick. He is a futurist and just amazing. Does anybody know Paul? Because he's quite well known in the Melbourne dev community. And he did a talk about the future in terms of replacing jobs with, I should say this was in 2015 or 16. He was talking about the future of our world when our jobs are replaced by automated driving and automated technology. I don't even think AI, to be honest, was a conversation point at that point. And what happens when people don't have jobs anymore because they're replaced by these systems? And he talks about how this is not the problem, that this is not a new problem. This has been something that's happened years and, time and time again, and how we always come good and how innovation comes out of change. And then it ended up talking about universal income and how that comes into play. And it was just a fascinating talk. And it wasn't actually about development directly, but it was about technology, and I really enjoyed that one. And I think the keynote that I was most excited to get to see in person was when Julie Lerman came out to DDD a few years ago, and she did a talk about GitHub using Copilot, and it was when we were just all starting to dabble in using Copilot to help us in our day-to-day work as programmers, and talking about how it's not going to replace us. And so that was exciting. This year we have somebody coming along who is a founder of a startup called Jamie. And Jamie is an AI companion, and so she's going to come along, and we haven't got her abstract yet, but look out for it. But I'm very excited to hear her talk about that, her journey in that. Yeah.
I referred a blog post to you, Belinda
Yes.
Moore from Strategic Membership Solutions.
Yeah.
A strong purpose starts with a clear identity.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was thinking about how perhaps originally we were founded by people that were attracted to what you could do with the IBM personal computer, but now a personal computer is your car, your watch, everything. And so perhaps there's but we have this opportunity to host and grow many different groups, and like gamers. There isn't. Are you a gamer, Bron?
I am, of course. Can you not tell? Yes. Yeah, I mean, I was so delighted to get a tour the other day of everything that you've got here, and the potential is amazing, and also just the amount of knowledge that you've obviously got here that can be shared with other people. So getting more people in and showing them that we can show you how to do all these cool things and become a maker yourself, or if you've got a little bit of fire of excitement, you can flare that up.
So within gamers, there's developers and people that play games, and then there's the actual games.
Yes.
And there's just so many different sub-identities within.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So as in everything, I guess, in life, there's lots of different branches. So you could be reaching out to people who develop the games, but that's going to be different people to those who play them, for sure. Yeah. The talk, the article. I actually would recommend that anybody who is thinking or who is involved in an organisation or an association or is thinking about starting one, it's a great piece to remind you about how important it is to work out your identity and purpose, and how to keep on track with that as well. Yeah.
More questions? Alexa, you've got to have a question with you. Just checking online. Any more questions online? No. There's multiple types of volunteers. From a spontaneous volunteer that just sees something happen and offers to help. And then you have more formal volunteers, and then you have interns, and then you have employees, and then you have people that run their own business. I feel like that's a volunteer.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yes. So do you have any thoughts about the different kinds of volunteers?
And I think I can tick all of those boxes actually, except for the intern at the moment. But yeah, so spontaneous volunteers obviously I assume would just be the sort of people who just say, hey, I want to help out on the day, and that's amazing. And you can't run an event like a conference without those sort of people as well. And I watch other conferences do that as well. And then the formal volunteers, I guess, would be more the people who come along and help us on a regular basis. And where there's different incentives, and there's different way to manage them, obviously, because you've got to make sure that they keep you on track with the tasks that they've been assigned, and keeping them busy as well. Because one thing is that if you've got people who want to help out on an ongoing basis and you're not assigning tasks to them, then they're going to get bored and they might look elsewhere. So, and then, yeah, I guess you could think of employees as being volunteers sometimes. I mean, we all do, well, not all, but some of us go above and beyond and do the extra work sometimes. Yeah. And don't even get me started on how much work there is involved in running your own business.
So we've been talking about the concept of agile evolution, and in terms of exploring different things that MelbPC could become, because we got going in the 80s, and kind of 40 years later, quite a lot of us are looking a bit old, and we have space here that's getting more used, but it's still dramatically underused. The committee is really trying to fix it, but we're really keen to hear from people that would like to volunteer to start something. Yeah.
So I'm not sure about how many people who are watching or listening have thought about running something before, but I think that if you've got something that you like doing, then you come along and you start doing it, and you tell other people that you're going along to start doing it, and then slowly more people will come along because they'll say, I want to see what you're building, and then you'll suddenly turn around and realise that you've got 10 people who are all coming along as well, maybe. And I was going to say, like, with anything, with any little community that grows, it starts with one person. So that would probably be a key takeaway, is to remember that you don't have to start a community by finding 10 people. You start a community by finding yourself and maybe one other person, and you start doing something, and then you talk about it, and you share it in whatever channels you have, whether it's in person or online channels, and then gradually it grows.
People get to know, hey, Mick is here on Wednesdays doing 3D printing, and every second and fourth Wednesday we've got Be Connected, and Jeff and John here to help people. Can just come in off the street and get help with their computers issues. Often.
And I would imagine that at least some of those people who just come in off the street to get help could be interested in what they see and think, oh, I'm interested in, or how do you do that? Oh, gosh, I wish I could use a 3D printer, and then suddenly they're involved in helping as well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Something else that you mentioned that I was going to jump in on was just
getting to work with other people about their on projects like project. Back in the day, in the old trading guilds, the builders would get together, and if they didn't have a paid gig, they'd just hone their skills.
Yes. Personal projects are where it's at. Yeah, definitely. In fact, after our conversation the other day, I went away and submitted a talk all about how important personal projects are, because it started thinking about it and seeing all of the work that you guys are doing here, which are all basically personal projects. And I was thinking, it's not just in terms of not just physical personal projects, but software development personal projects, and all of those. It helps you learn and helps you grow as a person as well. So it can be a really key way of levelling up your career by getting into that sort of thing. So by also talking to other people about those personal projects, you can also find other people who can help you with those. So, yeah.
But Bron, is there any more questions anywhere? Online? I'll just read out. Peter Carpenter said, AI slop, by the way, refers to the emerging mass of AI-generated video clips and images.
Yeah, so it's a fascinating and scary generative AI side effect. Yes, exactly. I almost don't recommend Googling it because you'll get yuck. But yeah, it is a thing. So yeah, thank you for defining that for me.
Bron, thanks so much for coming. It's just been wonderful to chat with you, and we probably could have chatted another hour if we'd gone on to more personal projects, but I think we'll wind up now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
All right, welcome back. I present David Stonier Gibson, our President, with the President's Report.
The club has been kind of staggering from ineptitude to disinterest to what have you for far too long, and we really want to get a bit of life back into this club. We want to transform it into a vibrant community of people who are passionate about tech and also to be of general social value. And I think Bron's talk segued into my talk about that fairly well, because a lot of that was about social value, which is important to us all. But to do that, we've got to get all the duckies lined up in the right sort of order. So we've got to get our spaces right, we've got to get our facilities, and then we've got to, once we've got the space and the product, we can start marketing. Now, we are prepared to start breaking some eggs to make this happen. Make that very clear. So in the spaces, we have an embryonic maker room at the moment. There is a concept, I'm not going to say, none of this is cast into stone yet, but there's a concept of actually removing the wall between the two areas outside on the other side of the hallway. You in the room can see me pointing, you at home, I don't know if you can see me pointing, but up there. Knocking that wall out and making a much larger maker space. Because we do aspire to have a lot more interesting equipment that is going to attract more members. This is what it's about, getting more members. We've sort of got to start on that with 3D printing. Mick is doing a fantastic job on the 3D printing side. We have at the moment, yeah, absolutely. Give him the clap he so richly deserves. Yeah. We now have a fleet of 11, 12 or something 3D printers, 15 3D printers that are available to members to take home to use. And if you time it right and come here when Mick is available, you can get coaching on how to use it and you can take it home. And at the moment, there's no sort of formalised 3-week limit or anything like that. And Mick is going to interject here.
Yeah, first and third Wednesdays each month we have 3D printing activities at Moorabbin.
Right.
Other Wednesdays I'm here for ad hoc in that space as well.
Yep. Okay, so Wednesdays are your day, and you can come in and you can get brought up to speed and be shown a little bit of, get a bit of tuition on using the software and how to clean the print bed and all those sorts of things that are all important to getting a successful outcome. And it's a lot of fun. It can be creative. If you want, you can just download files from the internet and print out dolls and puzzles and things, or you can create your own devilish machines and with cogs and levers and motors and what have you. That crossover, of course, into electronics, where we're fairly strong. I'm a retired electronics engineer, 55 years. I can probably help people out with this thing or two. So that's happening now, but we have aspirations towards a lot more. There's a CNC machine being constructed in the downstairs in the workshop. The wish list has got things on it like CNC, just mentioned that, sewing and knitting machines. I'm really interested in having craft type activities as well. Vinyl cutters, if anyone's heard of cricket, that's a thing which is a very big home hobby / craft thing at the moment. A laser engraver. We could actually now aspire to having a machine. Have you seen these things with a cube of crystal with a 3D image, picture of somebody or something engraved inside that block of, whether it's plastic or glass, I'm not sure. We can actually, it's within our reach to have a machine that can do that. Imagine how many people that could bring in from the surrounding areas if they got access to that sort of facility as members. It's huge. So I'm jumping all over the space in my notes here. So the maker room, the plan there, or I'm going to say the aspiration at the moment is to convert the two spaces into one big space, details to be filled in. The borrowed room remains to a large extent as a meeting room. I would personally like to fix up the decor a little bit to make it a little less dark drapes type of look. Again, that sort of is details, but the principle there is that we're prepared to change things to make them much more attractive. I think if somebody new walks into the place at the moment and looks across the borrowed room and sees these black drapes, it's not a very uplifting sight, in my view, at least. So those sorts of things. Downstairs, we have two spaces downstairs, and one of them needs a lot of work. It needs more power into the workshop that's got lathe and milling machine and other sort of heavy-duty machinery. The CNC machine is situated there at the moment. We need more power, so we've got to sort that out. And the other room, which is traditionally called the server room, needs to be cleaned up. The servers need to be tucked away in a corner, as little space as possible, and we've got potentially a really good space there where we might have things that are slightly sort of smelly dirty, like resin 3D printers that do produce a bit of fumes and stuff. But that space has got potential to get ventilation in it fairly readily. So there's a lot of ambition there, but we're resolved. I am resolved to make these things happen and to break some eggs in the process. It doesn't do us any good just sitting in the bank, put it that way. Now, that's sort of an aspirational kind of a list of some of the things, bits of equipment we could do, but all members are invited to say, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if we had a reverse 4-dimensional flogulator? They're real cheap now. As long as said member says, I think we should have, what was it called, one of those, but I will lead a group, I will champion that, and I will run classes on you using that reverse 4-dimensional flogulator. And we will build up an interest group in that, and we will advertise it out in the community, and we'll bring people in. And the other thing about bringing people in, by the way, is that the typical fees for a well-equipped makerspace are per month more than we charge per year for membership. So there is a lot of potential to increase revenue even with a reduced number of members. One thing is absolutely a holy cow. We will not take away from existing long-term members or make them pay more. That is cast in stone. But at some point, we're thinking, perhaps, thinking with me on this, for the next general meeting, AGM, we might propose a second tier of membership, which is maker members for people who have joined after, let's say, the 1st of December 2026 or something like that, a cut-off date. Stuart? I'll invite questions. Yeah, get in early, absolutely, yeah. Well, that's how you do it, carrot and stick stuff. Who has not bought something in a hurry because it was all limited time offer? Black Friday, what's that all about? Yeah, get to you. So if anyone wants to have that reverse 4-dimensional flogulator, come and see us and produce a proposal maybe, and we'll do it. And that applies to you guys at home as well. If you've got a skill or a passion that you want to share and you feel it is kind of generally consistent with the tech enthusiast kind of thing, come forward. And if it looks reasonable, we will support you. We will spend some money, as long as you undertake to stay with it, stay the course with it. Okay, so that's so the makerspace. The community side of it is sort of a little bit more Kirsten's bag, but we're definitely, I'm certainly supportive of those sorts of things too. Because, look, if a little highly mature lady comes in and has a nice cup of tea in a social chat and sees all this wonderful machinery, she's going to go home and tell her grandchildren, hey, you know what? They've got this wonderful reverse four-dimensional flogulator in this club. And you really want to go along and learn about that. You can make some gumpies out of that. Some really nice gumpies. So, yeah. So the more people that come in through the doors, the better in general. And the more, when they come in through the doors, they see stuff that makes them go, wow, the better. So that's the general sort of thing.
I'd just like to throw a word in here about that the members, the people that have been coming through the door lately after having found out about us are tending to sign up and get involved. And we need to do more of that. So.
So those efforts are beginning to pay off. A lot of credit for that goes to Mick, actually, because he's here a lot of the time. I'm just waiting for him to move a bed in here, actually, but no pets. Okay. I'm going to address marketing a little bit. The committee agreed on the last meeting. We are now going to develop the brand Moorabbin Makerspace. Moorabbin Makerspace. It says where we are. It says what it's about, and what it's about. So the messaging there is pretty clear. We have registered. Kirsten went off, and I think it went straight away. Registered Melbourne moorabbinmakerspace.org.au. Two of our ladies, Fleur and Karen, are in the process of preparing the old MelbCC website for porting over to a new website, which will be moorabbinmakerspace.org.au, which will hopefully be online pretty soon, in a week or two or something like that. The moment that's done, we can now start using that as a hook for marketing, as a landing page. I got a new car on Saturday. I'm going to have the very first bumper sticker, which has got a QR code that goes to moorabbinmakerspace.org.au. And I'm going to encourage every member to put a bumper sticker on their car, because the more visibility we've got, the better. And these days, QR code is the way to go. On the classic MelbPC .org.au website, the one that you're all very familiar with, there's been a team of students who've been doing some work on that. And they've produced a demo site which is, at the moment, kind of the same. It's not fully populated, but it's a new look and feel to that website, and it looks pretty spiffing. It's designed, these days when you design a website, I mean, I designed my first website in 1995. We didn't have mobile phones. It was a totally different kind of a game. These days, the website has got to, first of all, work on one of these. Because you don't see kids sitting in cafes peering into one of these when they're having dinner with their friends. They sit peering into one of these when they're having dinner with their friends. So that's an important part of website design. So that's sort of marketing, and we are prepared to spend some money on marketing. We're going to find, if there's anyone in the club who knows about social media marketing, please come forward, email me, president@melbpc.org.au. I know nothing about social media marketing. I can potter around, but I don't really know how it works, and only on Facebook. So we really need some expertise in that area. If we have to, we'll have to go and hire someone, but it'd be much better, of course, if we have someone in the club who can do that. And they probably are going to be no more than 30 years old. So a 30-year-old in our club, yeah, okay. We have a couple. And those couple, by the way, are the ones who are most active in here in Moorabbin. The other thing that we want to see happening, and Mick is kicking this off next year with something called Maker Mondays, where his vision of that is... Sorry?
So second and fourth, I'll make it. Maker Mondays, second and fourth Mondays each month, starting...
It's okay, no pressure. I'll say watch this space.
Fourth week of January.
Something like that, okay? So, and the way Mick is visualising that is to a project-focused thing. So the first thing is going to be probably a camera slider for videos. Three. One for the club, one for Wadham House, and, well, the club is... we've got a studio being set up next door, we can get to that, and one for...
One for us here at Moorabbin to use in the studio, one for Wadham House to use as they see fit, and one for members to borrow.
One for members to borrow and take home if they're going to make a video at home. But you can make videos in the studio next door as well.
Maker Mondays will be revolving around building kit for the club, not personal projects.
But if anyone else has got a thing that they think, hey, I can, and this is exactly the sort of thing Bron was talking about, if I heard her correctly, something that they have that they can share, an activity, be it a one-off thing. Let's have a look. I'm happy. Let's have a session of making papier-mâché animals. Fine. It's a craft thing. It'll bring people in of probably younger end of the age spectrum, but hey, that's fine. If anyone out there in membership land has something they feel they have can share with value, we will back them. If we see reasonable merit, it doesn't have to be the most world-shattering thing. This comes back to this agile evolution thing. We are prepared to try things and fail. That's what Bron was saying. Don't be afraid of failure. We will give things a go. So, I mean, I've got a whole list in my in Notepad here of little craft projects that we can do. I bought bioplastics with a leaf embedded in it, so you've got a thing that hangs in the sun and catches the light. Cool little project. We can do that as a community sort of around the area. Come in, $5 and take part in this activity. People through the door. So if anyone's got ideas for even one-offs or courses, you want to run a course on underwater macrame, come forward and we will resource you. The other one, which is potentially quite big, is running a repair cafe. Now, there are a few potential wobbles in the road on repair cafes with safety and electrics and stuff like that, but they are avoidable or surmountable. So if anyone feels that they would maybe be happy to give time to doing a repair cafe, there are many models for repair cafes, so there's a lot of flexibility there. We would like to hear from you. Please, step forward. Okay. A very specific call for a volunteer. We need someone. Kirsten is working herself ragged. We need somebody to volunteer to run the monthly meetings. Particularly organised speakers, and I think Bron kind of touched in on that subject as well. Marlene in the office does a lot of the sort of route work, but she is not confident to go seeking speakers. I've done it in the past. I would prefer not to be doing it because I want to focus on the bigger picture stuff if I possibly can. So anyone there who'd like to volunteer to help out finding speakers, sort of in the tech space preferably, please contact me or contact the office, one of our president or office at MelbPC. Finally, on Monday we have David Evans, who's our vice president. He is running his potluck picks. Now, potluck picks is a kind of the monthly meeting you have when you're not having a monthly meeting, I suppose. But it'd come along have a topic, say, oh, hey, look, I made this wonderful souffle the other day and I baked it in a cardboard box sitting out in the sun and it really worked out well. Come in and tell us about it. Okay? So we sit around informally, well, the culture has been moving out, we sit in an informal circle and we just chat about stuff. And I should have mentioned as well that from February we are going to start having once a month, a daytime monthly meetings. There's been a bit of to and fro whether we change to daytime, stick to nighttime. In the end, the compromise is we're going to run both types in parallel and see how it goes. But a lot of people, my wife won't allow me to drive at night anymore, and probably quite a few members won't allow themselves to drive at night anymore. Was that a Freudian slip of the tongue? Okay, there's no DV involved here. It's gone completely off topic here, so that's my cue to... I lost the file. That's my cue to say thank you very much, and back to you, Mick.
Thank you, David. I'd just like to touch on some of the things you mentioned, including volunteering. Volunteering doesn't have to be a thing that you do for someone. It could be just turning up and helping move tables or sort cards or anything. You don't have to have any particular skills to volunteer at MelbPC. Just put your hand up and say, look, I want to do something, how can I help? And some of it is just being company for people, because that's one of the things we do here well. So, yeah, get involved, get on board, make a space, MelbPC, all happening. Watch this space for the next 12 months, we're going to grow.